Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. And here on the Total Truth Show, we want to help you break free from the lies and propaganda of the mainstream media, all the disinformation and misinformation. We want to help you blast through all of that. And my name is Ken Kleinberg, coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego, California.
And I'm Aldwyn Altuney, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
There is a great awakening happening in the world right now, and you're going to want to come along for the ride.
A lot of lies are coming to the surface. There's a lot of awakening happening. And as this awakening is happening, people realize they've been deceived for years. They've been lied to for years around all sorts of things. A lot of people have been blind to what has been going on in the world, and now they're starting to see. They're starting to see things in a different light.
Through our show, we want to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass. And we don't want you just to accept the things that we're saying. That goes for our guests as well. We want you to do the research for yourself. Get out there and start questioning things. Start looking things up. Do the research. We want to pave the way for a new awakened world. And we want you to come along for the ride. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Yes, welcome to Total Truth Show, episode 72. And this one is going to be absolutely epic. We have my amazing co-host, of course, Ken Kleinberg, in the house from San Diego, and Ranger Nick is on the road. He's doing an Australian tour at the moment. We have the phenomenal Ranger Nick. If you haven't heard about this guy, he's an Aussie celebrity camp oven bush cook, educator, entertainer, award winner, and Guinness Book of Records world record holder. Welcome, Ranger Nick, coming to us from outback Queensland, west of Brisbane currently, heading north. Welcome.
Nice to be on board. Nice to see your happy, smiling face again, Aldwyn. Always makes me feel good.
Oh, thank you, Nick. Thank you. And we know we've got Jutta there in the background, so sending much love to Jutta. I've known Jutta for about 20 years or something, and she's extraordinary. So thank you to Jutta for all the work in the back end to help get you out there as well, Ranger Nick. Now, you are a Guinness World Record holder. Now, can you tell us about what you're on the road for currently and what this world record is about?
Well, part of what we're doing on the roads, I've got a tour. We'll probably be on the road for a couple of months or up to, but one of the first stops I'm making. So I guess I should start at the start. I was contacted in 2019 by a mate who was sitting down in the shed having a couple of beers and spotted a photograph there and asked the bloke that owned the shed, what's the photograph? He said, well, that's a world record of a damper that we made here in Charleville in 1994. At 75 metres. So with modern technology, he Googled it and it come up that a Swedish scout group now held that title at 125 metres. Now, when I heard about that, I went, well, that's damn right un-Australian. We really need to bring that title home. So on the 13th of July 2019, we had a get-together and we made a 153.002 metre long damper, bringing the title back to Australia, and now we hold that. I've even got the certificate that says I'm officially amazing. Officially.
I love it. And now, for those who don't know what damper is, can you explain what is a damper?
The damper is basically our iconic Australian bread. It's been a staple part of our diet for over 250 years. Believe it or not, Aldwyn, there were food shortages early in the piece, in early colonisation. So the breads were just put on the table as you still see it today. Bread and butter on the table just to fill bellies.
Amazing. Now, you, Ranger Nick, you are very well known for your shows that you do. You know all about food inside and out. You live on a farm, and you are always entertaining and very educational as well. So let us know, where did your fascination for food and for camp oven, for bush cooking, etc., where did all that start for you?
Well, the fascination for food, Aldwyn, I don't know. I've been eating all my life. But I was always lucky. I'm from a big family, so I'm the baby out of 10. So especially 40 odd years ago, life was much different. People had lower incomes, they had less material things, they were happier. But we relied a lot on the vegetables that my father produced from the garden. My Auntie June and Uncle Cole had a fresh produce shop, and made jams and chutneys. Even to this day, Auntie June's 94 now, just had her birthday. Happy birthday, Auntie June. And she still does scones, baking for the church, makes her jams, keeps a garden. It's just amazing. And no pharmaceutical drugs. Or her diet is she's a very healthy lady. She's incredible and an inspiration in my life, that's for sure. So as far as the draw to the food goes, I've always liked producing my own food. I've tried to keep a vegetable patch myself, and even to this day I keep heirloom seeds and try and keep those vegetables going in the garden. The flavour is so much better. The medicinal and nutritional value is so much higher because I produce them myself with using humus. And that's part of the subject that I want to touch on today, how our food's actually produced.
Yeah, I love that. There's nothing quite like food from your garden. And actually, we have passion fruit at the moment that are that big coming off our vines, which is extraordinary. I might actually grab some and show you in just a minute. But really, you just cannot beat food from the garden. And as we know, and I was actually quite shocked, there's so many pesticides in food you get from the supermarket. Can you guys share a little bit about what you know about pesticides and how bad this is for us?
That's me?
Yeah. Let's go to you, Nick.
Well, look, one of the things I can tell you about pesticides is there's a lot of pesticides that are being used here in Australia that have been banned in other countries for over 40 years. Things that we should not be using, and we're still using it. Things like Rogar and stuff like that. Now, short and the thick of it is, the fruits and things like that they're used on are all cells, and they're soft cells, so they absorb things. And this is how a lot of the chemicals work. They'll either take it in through the root system and excrete it through the plant or the flowers, or it'll go on the outside and act as a deterrent like that. So basically, even washing the fruit isn't going to get rid of those chemicals off the fruit. Even peeling them won't, because it will absorb into the flesh over time. So there's going to be traces of that in there, and we see it not only with fresh produce like fruit and veggies. We're seeing it also with stock processing and things like that. So you have to do this, you have to do that, or you can't put it through the yards, all this sort of stuff. At the moment, we're hurting a bit because we do run a few cattle. We've run a little bit of stock. And one of the things that's happened recently with all the wet weather is a lot of parasites, worms, ticks, things like that are coming out of the woodwork, if you will. And at the moment, we're having to treat our cattle every 21 days with a Sidecton or something equivalent, and it actually has no withholding period. Now, if there's no withholding period, that means it's consumable. But we're putting a chemical on a beast that's going to last for 21 days. How can you tell me that it's not in the flesh? So there certainly should be a withholding period. And there's other chemicals that are much harsher than that, and they do have specified withholding periods. Now, the reason it's hurting me so much is I avoid using the chemicals, and I try to farm as organically as I can. So the cattle are grazing. They're all what do you call it?
Grass fed.
Yeah, they're all organic, I guess. They're
Yes.
organic beef. So the organic beef I can't get accreditation for now because I'm having to treat the organic beef for cattle tick, which means it's going to be 3 or 4 years before I can produce organic cattle again.
Wow. And I know there's also like a big fire ant scare that has happened too, and it looks like even government authorities are, even putting fire ants around the place so they can just spray the people's yards. It's happening like rife here on the Gold Coast, where people are, the government authorities are coming into. They want to spray people's lands for fire ant. And there's, in some of these places, there's no evidence of fire ants, but they just want to spray everything with this toxic crap, which is going to kill, all the nutrients in the food, etc. It's absolutely crazy. I just want to show you quickly my passion fruit. I'm so proud of my passion fruit from my garden. And look,
I've got to say, you're the first good-looking girl that's ever offered me to show her passion fruit.
Yeah.
Aldwyn.
I just happen to have two very nice big round ones here to show you. But these are these. Now, a friend of mine went to the truffle festival the other day, and they say truffles look a bit like balls. But anyway, we won't go there today. So now we do have some people with us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and X. We are not streaming to YouTube because our last show got censored. It got censored, which means there was definitely some truth in it. That was episode 71, the truth about independence. So if you want to know why they got censored, go and watch that show. We've got Guarded Body here going, good on you, mate. He goes, good on you, mate. Who are the military industrial complex, Ken? She says, no chance in hell of stopping Monsanto pesticides. None. Yes, well, that's right. Monsanto. Now, let's talk about Monsanto. Who wants to chat about that?
Oh, righto. Well, I'll give you what I know there. So recently, and during that 5-letter C word period, I had a bit of time to do some homework on the computer and stuff. So I started looking into things like chemicals that we were just talking about. And glyphosate is probably one of the most well-known chemicals on a global scale. Now, I'm not sure that you know this, Ken, but I'm actually interested to hear what you think about what I'm going to say here. But glyphosate, we've been led to billions of litres on the, and there's millions of litres globally sprayed everywhere. It ends up in water courses. It ends up in the sky and dropped all around the place. And we're led to believe that it is harmless. However, it is carcinogenic, and it was first produced as an antibiotic. So if you can imagine the link between healthy soil and the biotics which live in it, and a healthy stomach have the same biotics living in your stomach as what's in healthy soil, then there's a very, very obvious connection between our food, how it's grown, and when we ingest it, what we're ingesting. So without those healthy biotics to be passed on to our stomach and our system, our gut health is not going to be good. And that's one of the first things to do with your personal health is your gut health. We're finding that out now.
I 100% agree with that. Yeah, and glyphosate, I mean, I'm hearing more and more and more and more and more about it. I haven't done any like real crazy deep dives on glyphosate in general. Like, okay, what are all the side effects and all this other stuff? But I know enough about it to where, I know how to direct people away from, different products that have that, and fruits and different things like that. So, and then you hit on another thing, soil. Soil is really, really important. The unfortunate thing about soil nowadays is that a lot of it is depleted. And interesting, one of the reasons why a lot of it's been depleted is because the soil has not been given, in biblical times, because I am a Christian. So in biblical times, they actually had periods of time where they would give the soil a rest period to replenish itself. Well, many, many years we have gotten away from that. And, the result has been less than nutritious fruit and different things like that. It's depleted. Then on top of that, you really need to think about as well as the life of the fruit. So how long does it take the fruit to be transported? So it gets packaged up, it gets put in a truck, travels to whatever warehouse. From the warehouse, it goes to the store, finally ends up in your cart. Well, the whole process that it takes to get to your cart, it's exposed to light, it's exposed to oxygen, it's exposed to all of these elements that then further deplete these fruits and produce.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
Sorry,
we had a great guest on, great guests actually on one of our previous shows, the guys from Key 2 Group, and that they have this amazing product that actually brings the soil back to its original sort of nutrients, and it's called, you can look it up. It's key2group.com, KEY number 2 GROUP.com, and it's they actually say here on their website, it says it's a world first product created by nature that contains every organic nutrient, vitamin, and mineral required to give and sustain the life and fertility of the soil. Now, I had some of this delivered recently to my place, and I've actually put it in my yard, which I truly believe has helped me grow passion fruit looking like this, right? I truly believe, now this one needs to be eaten at the moment, but like that size passion fruit, you just can't buy that kind of passion fruit. Well, not around these parts, and it's delicious. It's absolutely, and it lasts ages, not in the fridge as well. So, I'll pop the link of that Key 2 Group in there, which is, around the nutrients. Also, we have Guarded Body here. It says, anytime you think the government knows what they are doing, remember cane toads. They haven't gotten smarter. The problems are just more complex. He says, our water table is not handling glyphosate at all. Now, I've just looked up glyphosate. I've just looked up what it does. Now, it can cause increased saliva, burns in the mouth and throat, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. And
there's so much more to it than just that. Those are,
that's
just
if you drink it, Aldwyn. That's if you drink it. And you'd have to drink 1.5 liters of it before it made you throw up or made you sickly. But
right. But even it says even people who breathe in the spray mist from the products, they get irritated in the nose and throat, even the mist.
Yeah. Certainly, it's sensitive to it. And one thing with chemicals is, and we know this loud and clear, that the best place that's going to be absorbed into your body is through your palms, your eyes, your respiratory system, and dermally. So the point that Ken was making about the soils being overworked and things like that, and there's actually a very interesting thing on YouTube. It's called After School Chemical Farming, SKOOL. And it's really worth a look. But the short and the thick of it, in the early 30s to 40s, we were working the land. We weren't spelling paddocks. We were just getting as much as we can out of it and farm. And what happens when you keep doing that, this is why a lot of people are going towards zero tillage these days, is because the more you work that soil, the more that you break the PEDs down. So the PEDs are the small particles that make up dirt clods and things like that. So they were broken down into dust, basically. So we had these, what were referred to as barren wastelands, which were occurring in the 30s and 40s. And they were just barren wasteland. Turn your back on it and keep getting on with life and keep farming the way you're farming, and the barren wastelands are getting larger and larger. Then around the 60s, they went, well, all this chemicals that we're producing, we're getting these byproducts and we really don't have a use for them. Let's dump them in a barren wasteland. So they've dumped all this chemical, not really knowing what it was at the time. And after a while, they noticed things were starting to get green again out on a barren wasteland. So they went, oh, all right, we better have a look at this. So now we've got things like nitrophosica and urea, which we can't grow foods without these days. The soil's dead. It's got no nutritional and no medicinal qualities. The fertilizer will certainly grow the plants. They grow quite healthy looking plants. They grow nice looking fruit. But there's very little flavour in that fruit. There's very little nutritional value, if any, and certainly very little medicinal value. So food's actually good for you. I don't know if you're aware of that, Aldwyn, but as I said, I've been eating all my life, and food is actually good for you. You can heal your body in so many ways, or help your body to heal with a lot of what you ingest. So the old saying, you are what you eat, is very true.
But what I want to do is I want to clarify that, though. Food is definitely good for you, for sure. I love that statement. But let's classify what food is. Let's classify what is classified as food, because I know a lot of the people out there they're buying stuff at the store that's been packaged and it's in a box or it's in a package and whatever. On the front of it, they're being sold all this marketing. Oh, it's healthy. Oh, it's made with real fruit. Oh, no high fructose corn syrup. No artificial flavors. No this, no that. And pretty colors on the front. And busy moms are going into the store with their kids that are just antsy and they just want to get out of there. And they're grabbing these products and being sold on the marketing of these products and popping them in the cart and then bringing it home. And I'm here to tell you guys that is not food. That is not classified as food. That is classified as bioengineered. That's classified as GMO'd. I could get off on a bandwagon here. I'm going to be very careful because Ranger Rick here or Ranger Nick only has so much time. So I'm going to be very careful not to go too far. But I just want to make that distinction, guys. That is not food. I don't care how healthy they are marketing to you that it is. One of the biggest things that I'm passionate about and teaching people how to do is turn the freaking thing over and discover what the real truth is, because you are going to see ingredients in there and more than half of them you're not going to be able to pronounce. That is not food. All right. So anyhow, I'm done there. Continue, Nick.
I think a simpler way to identify those things, Ken, is if you turn the packet over, have a look on the back. If there's numbers written on there that coincide with food acids and all the rest, guarantee you that's synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
Yes.
watch what you do. So when I walk into a supermarket, and they're massive these days, and you're trying to find basic ingredients like flour, sugar, salt, it's a job even to try and find it. But there's all these pretty packets that are jumping out at you and all that. And I just look around me and go, where is the food? So usually when I go to the shop, and it's a quick lap around the outside to fresh produce, dairy, meat, and then I'm out of there because there's nothing else in there that's really food and nothing else in there that really interests me. And being a baby of 10, like I said, we produced a lot of our own food, and I continue to do that. I do find if I'm offered meals, which I don't like to decline, I always like to accept a meal, I can taste straight away if someone's added a packet of something in there to give it flavours. And I'll guarantee you, just with one mouthful of that food, it will upset my stomach and I'll end up with a rough night just because of it. So I find I can't eat things like that. And I also find it with a lot of the processed meat, or not so much processed meats, but how the meat is grown. So I see feedlots, I see piggeries. Cattle don't rely on grain to put weight on. That is not their diet. They eat foliage. And yes, there's probably some seed in amongst the fodder that they're eating, but they don't solely live on grain. And when I go to cook grain-fed meat, it just stinks. I can smell it. It kind of half smells like rotten fat. I shouldn't say too much either, Ken. I guess I don't want to upset too many people out there that are busting their bum trying to make a living, and I understand all that. But pork, for example, I often say I don't know what they've put on the shelf, but it's not pork. Once a year, I generally get out with the boys. We go out and do a bit of fishing and hunting. And at the end of the grain season, end of winter, where the oats and all that are, and the pigs have cleaned themselves up. So when they eat a lot of grain like that, because pigs are omnivores, they eat carrion, and in the heights to summer when all they're eating is the dead kangaroos off the side of the road, they're full of parasites, they're full of worms. But once that grain season stopped and they've been getting into the grain, it certainly cleans them out, and you don't see parasites in them. Now, the meat is dark. Pork is a dark meat, people. Let me hear you loud and clear. It's not another white meat. It is a dark meat. And the fat tastes great, and it doesn't make you sick in the belly, and it actually tastes like pork. So as much of that I can bring home, I'd rather ingest with that, which I've been eating it all my life. And it's never done anything to affect me. But it's I just find it a much healthier diet. I've got mates that go and actually practically live up around Arnhem Land with some of the communities up there, and they said they've never been healthier in their life just living off a simple diet. Cut sugar out. Sugar is one of the most toxic things you can ingest, and for some reason, they've put it into everything. How can I have a meat pie? Why does it need sugar in it?
Mm.
You know, one of the reasons for that, how that whole thing started, and then it just trailed off for everywhere. But how that started, putting sugar in everything, is from the low fat, fat free scam. How many people back in those days bought into that, the low fat and fat free scam? That is one of the biggest scams sold on the people of the world. And so when they started taking fats out of food and out of items, well, fat is very flavorful. It adds just such good flavor to things. I love getting the real fatty steaks, like a good bone-in ribeye, because it just tastes amazing. But what happened when they took the fat out of a lot of things? You got these low fat things, you've got fat free this and all this other stuff. What did they put in there? Sugar. They had to put something in there as a replacement. So it was sugar. Then to take it a step further, so that the sugar industry continued to make their money, they actually paid Harvard scientists back in the 1960s $50,000, which was a ton of money back then. $50,000 they paid Harvard scientists to come out with so-called studies pointing the finger at saturated fat and ignoring the real culprit, which was sugar for coronary heart disease.
Yeah.
Really very toxic and acidic sugar. I even at times use it to clean my cast iron. So
Wow.
by soaking 20% molasses, a mixture of 20% molasses and water, soaking cast iron in it for 2 or 3 days, it comes up clean as a whistle.
Amazing. Well, we know Coke also. Coke can take the paint off your car, right? And how much sugar there is in soft drinks is extraordinary. Now, I just had another little look at glyphosate, doing a bit of research in the background. So it has increased risk of cancer, and it's in Roundup. And this is a lot of people putting Roundup in there. And I think we need to round up the Roundup personally. And I think people need to get conscious of this. I must say I didn't know. I didn't know about this either. Glyphosate is in Roundup. I knew Roundup was no good, but I didn't know why, and I didn't know that it causes cancer. So there's a lot of places glyphosate has actually been banned now in a lot of places. However, it's still out there and it's still rife. And this is the thing: just by washing your fruit and vegetables, you're not going to be able to get rid of it. We've got Guarded Body here on Instagram saying in the Lockyer Valley, you get penalised for trying to go organic. You can't sell organic product now in the Lockyer Valley in Queensland because they're trying to stop it. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Why are they trying to stop people from growing their own veggies? And this is happening in parts of Europe too, right? This Monsanto, the genetically modified seeds, they want to control everything. They want to control the food, the water, everything, right? And then they want to tax you on breathing with carbon taxes, right? So, we'll tax you to the hill, but it's for your own safety and it's for your own good. That's what they always say, right? So what are your thoughts around that, about trying to stop the organic farmers?
Well, they're doing a pretty good job of it. There certainly seems to be an attack on the rural industry at the moment, if you choose to look at it that way. A lot of the farmers markets that I frequent, because I'm big on fresh food, I've seen through the COVID period, the numbers at markets like that, farmers markets, really picked up. There was good crowds there because shopping centres were really falling short. They never had the produce on the shelves, all that sort of stuff. So the locally grown produce was coming out. And I have to say, I've no idea why people did not keep shopping there before they went and did the rest of their shop at Coles or Woolies or otherwise. Because the produce, one, tastes so much better. It looks so much better. Some of it may have blemishes on it even, but that doesn't make the fruit any different. Okay, absolutely, Aldwyn, that's right.
My
Passionate about that fruit.
my two round, whatever you choose to look at that. But yeah, yum.
Absolutely. And this is the thing, straight off the vine, like often when I'm at home and the border control's away, and I'm out watering the garden with a cold beer in the evening, I don't even bother to cook dinner. I pick the vegetables straight off the plants and eat them while I'm watering the garden, and I'm not hungry by dinner time. And it's an amazing feeling to be eating something that's still alive. It's still growing. It's so fresh. Like even I think mushrooms are a great example. They're a lot like me, mushrooms. They're a fun guy.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of the mushrooms, and I've been in places where they're growing them, and to eat them straight off the peat moss, they are so flavoursome, milky. But
Mm.
within 12 hours of them hitting shop shelves, they're a completely different taste. They're a completely different looking food item. But when we go, if I can go back to talk about synthetic foods, like you've said about what they expect us to do, things like that. Well, they want us to eat bloody grasshoppers and eat these synthetic foods, because everything these days is about flavour. So being a foodie and in the cooking industry, everyone likes that flavour. Personally, I find food already tastes good. If I put the foods I like, the fresh produce, the fresh foods that I already like the taste of together, I get good flavours. So now we're seeing you can't cook a piece of meat without getting flavour out of it. You need to put meat rubs and all this stuff. And once again, we get straight back to, you might have a nice piece of meat there, but you're covering it with a meat rub. Therefore, you're rubbing in artificial whatever the heck that's in there, all these flavourings and colours and all this type of stuff. And it's really not food, and it's really not meant to be in your system. It is toxic. So a
Mm.
lot of our diet, I think, has a lot to do with health problems. So by eating well, staying active, I think has a lot to do with it. So yeah, look at what you're actually consuming. Look at what is out there to buy, and support the local farmers market and the likes. At the moment, we're seeing meat, for example. The farmers are lucky to get $3 a kilo. Now they're doing all the work, looking after those cattle, keeping fences, keeping everything happening, right? Breeding programs. There's a lot more to it than just chucking a bunch of shitters out in the paddock and you end up with an income. It doesn't quite work like that. But on the supermarket shelf, I'm seeing up to $50 a kilo for different cuts of meat. So where's all that money going? Because the
Mm.
farmer's certainly not getting it. And without the farmer, we don't eat.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, my ancestry, I have my great grandparents were farmers in Kiev, in Ukraine, and when Stalin came in and turned it communist, they killed off 30,000 kulaks, and a lot of the kulaks were farmers. And my great grandparents were farmers, and they actually came and killed them on their land. They actually, you know, hung them out the front of their place and killed off the farmers. And then what happened? There was mass starvation. There were people dying of famine. And you know, this is where we're going. You know, we need to start doing something now. We can't just wait and hope that things are going to get better. We have to speak up, and we have to stand up, and we have to get self-sustainable as much as possible. And you don't have to have a big block of land to actually grow a whole lot of veggies and food. It's amazing what you can do on rooftops. I've seen in places even. Right.
Oh,
So
on the side of walls, all sorts of. There's some fantastic ideas of how you can use that space in your garden. And if you're going to plant something in your garden, rather than plant a pretty tree that you've got to cut down in a few years because you planted it in the wrong place, why not plant something that you can eat?
yeah, absolutely. Now you also do curry kits, Ranger Nick, and they are absolutely delicious. So can you share a bit about your curry kits?
Absolutely. And again, that comes back to that 5-letter C word. So the entertainment industry hit a wall. So I had no work or income for 3 years. So one of the things, I was sitting with Yuta one day, and we found this little book of grandma's recipes, and she happened to be an Indian grandma. Now, we're sitting there eating these curries, Murgiara Aloo, if I recall. And I said, man, this is so good, Yuta. This is so good. She said, we should package this and try and sell it. So from there, we've now got 30 different blends. The curry kits are selling quite well. We've done some campaigns with Ticker TV and things like that on promoting the curry kits curry for COVID. So we all know that food's good for us. We all know that Things like turmeric are good for inflammation. We've got chili, garlic, ginger, all good for the immune system. Paprika, all those things are so good for the immune system, or at least to boost it. And warms your belly in winter too, of course. But lovely curries, absolutely beautiful blend, simplified cooking methods, no preservatives, all Australian product. So these are the types of food which I look for to eat myself, so that I can try and keep my immune system up. Aldwyn, if I ever get sick, it's not for very long. If I get a wog or a cold or whatever, people say to me, "Oh, well, did you get tested?" I said, "I'm not shoving that thing up my nose to find out if I'm sick or not. I'm sick. I'm going to bed." So I put the onions on my feet and I dope myself up with echinacea and lemon teas and all this type of stuff, and get the old Vicks out and shove that up my nose, and lumps of garlic, and amazing the junk that comes out of me. But within a day or two, I'm back on my feet and I'm not sick. So I've never felt a need to go and be tested for anything of the sort. I know that I'm sick. I'll go and sweat it out. Look, bottom line is, be courteous to other people. If you're not feeling well, don't go to work. If you can do your work from home, that's great, but there's no point in sharing it with the whole staff room and everyone ends up sick.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, during COVID, it's interesting. A lot of people who had the jab got sick with COVID, whereas a lot that didn't have the jab didn't get sick at all. It's very interesting, that, isn't it? Yet it's meant to, keep everyone safe getting the jab.
That I don't find that unusual, Aldwyn, because basically you're putting the virus into your system, right? So if you look at pathogens and how they work and how they first come up with vaccines and that for smallpox and the like, there's probably a lot of merit in that. So you're exposed to it, your body builds an immunity to it, and you have no more problem with that. That's what immunity was all about. When I was a young boy, all the vaccines that are out there now just did not exist. What we had was what we call childhood diseases. And guess what? If someone got chicken pox at school, we had a chicken pox party, the whole class got it, and then we got back to school again. It wasn't broken up all year. It wasn't messing around with it. And it never killed anyone. They got stronger. Their immune system got stronger. Viruses are part of the evolution. They've always been here. And without the virus, we can't evolve. Break that cycle, goodness knows where we're going to end up.
But when viruses are created, as it seems that a lot of these have been, that's another story again. When we're dealing with all sorts of artificial manufacturing of viruses, and now, of course, there's the bird flu. Now they've killed over 1 million chickens in Melbourne that I know of. Now they're attacking the poultry industry as well. What are your thoughts about that, Ranger Nick?
Oh, well, I've heard a few things. I don't know whether it's gospel, so take this as you want, but with things like that and bio diseases and stuff like that can get into the country and all, like, one of the things that really scares me is if you have a animal on your property that isn't well, they can come in, and within a 6 kilometre radius of your property, all the animals have to be destroyed. So whether they're sick or not, they have to be destroyed because there's one sick animal on a property elsewhere. So that's pretty concerning. As far as all the bio stuff, look, what we need is more get away from monocrops and mono, right? So once you have a monocrop, for example, you're going to have a mono plague. Does that make sense, Aldwyn? So if I'm growing wheat, for example, and I get a bit of rust in the wheat, I've got a 2,000 acre paddock that's now just going to fill with mites. That rust is going to go right through there. Where if there was different grasses and different species of plants and the birds are in and out and the insects are doing their thing, then it doesn't explode and you don't have that big problem with monocultured crops and farming. So I think get them back more to their natural life, like for animals especially, get them so that they are grazing in amongst other animals, so that they are getting in amongst, not cooped up and just eating one diet, getting filled with antibiotics and what other medicines, you wouldn't know what's in there. But I do also, on the flip side of that, I also do see the need and why the producers use it, because the production's where they make their money. Personally, I'd rather pay better money for a better product.
Yeah, absolutely. So this shows the truth about food. What do people need to know about food? And I know you need to get going soon because you're on the road heading north
And
for
I'm
a
nearly
very
out of power. I'm nearly out of power, Aldwyn,
okay.
so
So we'll start to wrap up. So what do people really need to know about food while Ken runs to the bathroom? Um, what do they need to know about food while we've got you here?
what I think is not just about food, but the way you look at food and treat everything in moderation. So if you've got a bit of a sweet tooth or something like that, that's fine, but in moderation. If you're eating it all the time, that's not good. Eat well and stay active is something that I've taught my daughters. It's something that's been flogged into me. And when I look at my Auntie June at 94 years of age, still growing fruit trees and vegetables and cooking for the church and very active in the community, it's very hard not to question that, especially when she's goes to a doctor and they just can't believe she's not taking medication. So I think it has a lot to do. Good produce, fresh produce, especially if you can produce it yourself straight out of the garden. It's still growing, it's still alive, it's full of energy and wellness. They're the sorts of foods I think we should be focusing more on. Get back to reality, get away from all the synthetic stuff, and yeah, eat well, stay active.
Absolutely. I think that's some great advice there. Now, you are heading north for something very special. Can you let us know what you're heading north for?
Yeah, no, we've got a pretty big tour happening at the moment, but at the moment we're heading out to Charleville. We're hoping to catch up with the folks who got together to organise the world's longest damper for a bit of a catch up out there, and hopefully from there we can get a bit of a compilation of the day 5 years ago, because this is the 5th anniversary on Saturday. And we hope to get a bit of a compilation. So anyone that's interested and patriotic like me might like to look at how we brought that damper and how we went about making it to bring it back to Australia, that title.
Wonderful. And what's the favourite quote or motto you'd like to share with us today, Ranger Nick?
Oh, all has to do with food, Aldwyn. Get it into ya.
I love it. Get it, India. That's beautiful. And for those who want to connect with you, where can they go? What's the best way to see you? Because you're doing shows on the road as well. Where can they find you and connect with you in person?
Yeah, visit the websites. There's events calendars on there. There's things always happening on social media, like Ranger Nick Bush Cook. You'll find me on social media. But just wiggle, rangernick.com.au.
Beautiful. Love it. rangernick.com.au or rangernickbushcook.com as well. You will find all of Nick's stuff there. Anything else you want to say about food or the food industry? Anything else to empower people before you hit the road again?
Yeah, look, I'd just like to go out on this one, Aldwyn. For those out there that are having a go, just remember, work hard, be good to your folks. Keep that family unit, keep your friends close by, and share lots of love in your life. You'll be much happier and healthier for doing it.
I love it. Love your work, Ranger Nick. Thank you so much. Thanks for making the time. And of course, you do have a few books out as well. People can just quickly let us know about your books that you have that people can get.
Yeah, so I've published 4 books now, and the first one, You Should Be Walking With Me When I'm Walking By Myself, was dedicated to my family, bless their little heart, for my mum and dad, and a lot of the traditional type meals that used to hit the table when I was a kid. From there, I've gone on to produce one for, soul food for the non-carnivorous biped. Then I put a world of dampers together. There's 101 damper recipes in the book there. There's information about the history of damper and why it's called damper and all those types of things. So it's quite interesting, and how to make the perfect damper. And outside of that, the last one is Radio Recipes Collection. There's over 180 recipes in that book. There's 5 to 6 years of a recipe on the radio every Saturday morning, which I do with West Bremer Radio and Danny Hoyland. So basically I put that collection of recipes together and put it into a book, Radio Recipes. And I'm yet to see another recipe book that's interactive with YouTube.
Love it. Love it. That is awesome. Check it out, rangernick.com.au. Check out all the products and the camp ovens as well that you sell and the curry kits, etc. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show here today, Ranger Nick, and wish you all the best for your 5-year anniversary for the world record holder of the longest damper. And hopefully we'll keep that record for a long time in Charleville and in Australia. And good on you for bringing it back here from Sweden. Well done.
Thanks very much. Nice to meet you, Ken. Good to chat.
Good meeting
See you when the mud's dry, folks.
Thank you. Safe travels on the road
No
again.
worries.
Just
Thanks
can't
very
wait to
much.
get on the road again. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. Thank you. Love your work, Nick. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much, folks. Stay safe.
Yeah, you too. We'll see you soon. See you soon, Nick.
All right.
See you, Nick. See you. Bye. See you, Nick. All right. Legendary Ranger Nick, absolute champion. Check out his stuff, rangernick.com.au. So, Ken, what did you think about all of that? We covered a lot of ground there in a short amount of time.
It was good. Yeah, it was good. I had to keep myself from going off on tangents a couple times because I knew that he had just a limited amount of time, and I wanted to give him as much time as possible. But yeah, man, I can get off on a lot of those subjects, but it was it was just a really wholesome discussion that we had. It was straight to the point, well-rounded. I loved every minute of it. I'm glad that Ranger Nick was able to come on our show today and to be able to just impart his message. And so, just another thing for you guys out there, he's got a cookbook out there. People, go get that cookbook because it just sounds like it's full of all kinds of scrumptious wonderfulness. So go check out his cookbook.
Absolutely. He is an absolute legend. He is also one of our Mass Media Mastery members. He's in our community. And so today, when we had our guest pull out last minute, our guest was sick. We had an American guest due to come on who last minute messaged and said they're not feeling well. And so I put a call out with our members and Nick was on the road. He said, yep, we'll stop over, we'll pull over somewhere and we'll come and do the show. So that's awesome. So thank you so much. Extra big thank you for the last minute interview today. And I was just chatting. We just had a media consultation the other day. So I knew they were on the road and I thought, this would be great to promote what they're up to. And I think, everything happens for a reason. I think the perfect people come on the show when they're meant to come on the show. We do have more comments on Instagram. Guarded Body, thank you so much for being so interactive here. Really appreciate it. Guarded Body has some more things here, he said. Aldwyn, that product will be as commercially successful as the water-powered engine. They will kill it. We know who. Glyphosate is a cumulative, residual, etc. He says residual and cumulative. Yeah, I'm sure it is glyphosate.
Yes.
He says correct soil becomes increasingly more impoverished. He said fertilized soil is less able to sustain organics. Now, that's interesting. Fertilized soil less able to sustain organics. Is that because a lot of the fertilizers have got crap in them now? Is that what he's trying to say there? The fertilizers are putting there. It's harder to sustain the organics with the fertilizer.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that's the point he's trying to make.
Yeah, interesting. He says Food Intolerance Network, fedup.com. All you need to know about what's good for you or not. Oh, okay, interesting. So check that out. Food Intolerance Network, fedup.com. Is a great website apparently for resources. Thank you for that, Guarded Body on Instagram.
Can you repeat that again? Because I want to write that down.
Food Intolerance, so FOOD, Intolerance, INTOLLER.
Oh, okay. Wait. Sorry. Food, okay, FOOD, intolerance.
Food Intolerance. For those who are taking notes, watching this, we'll put the link in the comments as well. Food Intolerance Network. Food Intolerance.
How do you spell intolerance?
INTOLLERANCE network fedup.com. I'm actually just going to search it, make sure we got the right. Maybe he's got fedup.com. Maybe that's another one. Maybe it's foodintolerancenetwork.com. Let me see if that one works. Foodintolerancenetwork.com. Food Intolerance Network. No, I'm not getting that. Maybe just search Food Intolerance Network. Let's see. Okay, we're doing this a bit on the fly, guys. This is what happens with our live streaming. Food Intolerance Network. It sounds like a great site. So let's see. Here we go. Okay, so it's fedup.com.au, fedup.com.au. That's a lot easier. And that's the Food Intolerance Network website. Okay, there we go. Fedup.com. So it's always good to double check these things, isn't it? So all you need to do is go to fedup.com.au. I'm popping it in the chat here. fedup.com.au. And that's the Food Intolerance Network, which will tell you all about all the nasties to avoid in your food. There it is, fedup.com.au. But it actually does say food intolerance. And intolerance is actually with one L, not two L's. There you go.
Oh, my goodness.
Always double check. Thank you for that, Garden Body. Okay, he says USA pork banned everywhere in the US. Isn't that interesting? Well, USA pork is banned. I wonder what they're putting in the pork in the US. Do you know anything about that? What they're putting in the pork?
I do not. That is definitely something for me to look into.
Something for Fact Finder Ken to put his Fact Finder hat on and look into what is happening with the US pork. But that was interesting, actually. Our Ranger Nick said that pork is not a white meat. And like we know that a lot of chickens are bleached and a lot of eggs are bleached and things like that. Like a lot of it, God knows what the original color is, but that's fascinating.
Actually, when you get eggs from let's say a neighbor that's got chickens, you actually get multiple different colors. It's very, very, very interesting. And then the other thing too is if you get the real natural ones, meaning they haven't been washed or anything like that, I've heard you actually want to keep that dozen of eggs or however many eggs you get outside the fridge. They don't need to be refrigerated until you wash off that film that's on the outside of the eggs, the natural film. Just an interesting little food for thought there.
Yeah, interesting. And I've just done a quick search on why is US pork banned. And what it says here, it says it may contain ractopamine, a drug fed to pigs to make them grow more and grow faster. And so many places have banned it. In Europe, China, Russia have banned pork from the US because it's got that ractopamine, ractopamine, is in the pork itself. And this really begs the question. We really don't know what the hell is in our food that we're getting from supermarkets or getting from anywhere that you don't actually have some kind of control over yourself. You just don't know where this stuff is coming from. And this is the thing. We need to really do our due diligence. What I do know is that food that comes from my garden, back to the passion fruit, I know that food I grow myself, it tastes like nothing I have ever bought in a supermarket. And I'm sure our farmers are doing a phenomenal job out there with the organic food that they have, etc. And let's support our farmers. Let's go to the farmers markets. Let's support the farmers. Go straight to the farmers, because we know also the big conglomerates, the Woolworths, the Coles of the world, they're also ripping a lot of the farmers off. They're not paying them enough money for their produce. And a lot of the produce that needs to be sustained in supermarket shelves, a lot of it is sprayed because there's no way they can actually keep it keep it going for that long, with actually having it have that longevity of life without all the sprays and the toxins and all that crap. So do your research.
Here's the other thing I just recently came across and found out too, in the stores and the produce section, how some of these stores have these water sprayers in the produce section to keep the produce all nice, wet and moist and hydrated and whatever. You need to find out if that's just water that they're spraying or if there's other chemicals mixed in with that water in the water sprays at the grocery store. I've been seeing a couple things come out about that they are actually putting in little, chemicals. Some have chlorine in there. It's just, you've got to be careful all the way around.
Yes, absolutely. You do have to be incredibly careful. And thank you to Raphael Port for joining us. We've got Lan Zuhijian has joined us. We've got Amu Ahmad has joined us on Instagram. Brenj has joined. Thank you for joining us on Facebook, also on LinkedIn, Twitch, on X. Let us know, what do you think of this conversation? What are your thoughts about the truth about food? Now, you did say before we went actually live, you said the food pyramid, Ken, is one of the biggest lies out there. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Oh, I would love to. So, let's just think about it. The food pyramid, what is its main promoter? On the bottom part of it, that you're supposed to get 6 to 12 servings per day, is starches, carbs, and all that other stuff. And then you've got, the fruits and vegetables. Way up at the top, what you're supposed to limit is all the quality proteins, all the good quality proteins that come from animal meats and all that other stuff. You are supposed to limit that. If you're in any way, if you have a brain that works in any way, that does not make any sense. The food pyramid is literally a recipe for diabetes. Not only is it a recipe for diabetes, but when they started coming out with that food pyramid and they promoted like all the low fat and fat free stuff, did we actually see people get healthier with our own eyes? Did we actually see people, maintaining their weight and, looking great? No. As a matter of fact, we saw the exact opposite. And that is what the food pyramid has done to people. That is what that entire mainstream propaganda message has done to people. And I'm using that word very specifically, propaganda, because that's all it was. And that's all it is. Even the American Heart Association is 80% owned by pharmaceutical companies and the big food companies. The message that they put out is not in the interest of the American people. It is in the interest of their pocketbook. The sugar industry is in bed with the big food industry. The big food is in bed with the American Heart Association. The list goes on and on and on. They're all in bed with each other. And it's all a big giant thing to make money. The more ingredients and bioengineered stuff that they can put into food to make you crave it and want it and mess with your taste buds. And yes, some of it does reprogram your taste buds. Some of it does reprogram your neural pathway cells that send messages from your brain to your body. Hey, I'm full. Hey, I'm not full. Hey, it all gets screwed up and messed up because of what they're putting in the foods on purpose, because that is what keeps you hooked into that system. But back to the food pyramid. That is not a healthy way to eat at all. Number one, some of you may know this, some of you may not know this. There is no essential carb. There is no essential carb. We do not need them. Are they helpful? Yes, when strategically placed, when used properly, yes, but you do not need them with every meal. What you do need with every meal, and you do need to put a high priority on in each meal that you have, is quality protein. Notice I use the word quality protein. Not necessarily quantity, quality protein. Now, for me, I prefer animal proteins because I have learned that even in spite of everything that the industry has done, it still has a pretty high nutritional value to it. Eggs, interesting enough, because we were talking about eggs. Interesting enough, as I did a deep dive study on eggs, I've always thought that meat, like red meat, was like way up on the nutritional list. To my surprise, I actually found out that eggs are above meat. So if you really want to get in some good nutrition and get the highs, eggs are actually a superfood, believe it or not. And that's not me saying they're like a superfood. No, they are a superfood. Eggs are. But it's about what kind of eggs you get on how much nutrition you're getting. So what you want to look for is not free range, not cage free, not organic. Organic is good, but not just organic. You want to look for pasture raised eggs. Because on there, that's where you have all the certifications right on the box that they were humanely treated and all this other stuff. And then if you want to take it a step further, pay another like $1.50 or $2 more, get the organic pasture raised eggs. That is the best way you're going to get all, some really good nutrition. You've got healthy fats in there. You've got healthy cholesterol in there. You've got healthy proteins, great stuff. You can easily go eat 3 or 4 eggs and feel very full, get full fast, and then feel full for a long time. Isn't that interesting? But you can go and you can eat a whole bunch of different French fries and still not quite get that full feeling that you would from eggs. And you only need 4 eggs to and you're done. And eggs are a very low calorie thing as well. I think it's 70, 75 calories per egg. And then how many calories is in the fries? Yet you still don't get that same satiated feeling of being full that you do from good quality proteins and good quality fats. Do not buy into the industry's propaganda lie anymore that saturated fats are bad for you, that, you should limit your meat consumption, yada, yada, yada. That's a whole bunch of bull crap, and it's the stinkiest bull crap you'll ever put your nose on. So
Yes.
there you go.
Thank you. And look, Ken loves his meat. I recently went vegetarian. Okay, so I've made that choice more on a moral ground. However, each to their own. And I know as a vegetarian, I've got to make sure I also get the proteins in because I have to think more lentils, more kale, that mung beans, things like that. So eat a better diet if you are going to be a vegetarian. And I think if I was out in the jungle and I was absolutely starving, there was no other food other than meat, I would probably have to eat meat to survive, right? Which is what they did back in the day, right? At times there's places in the world where that's all they can eat is meat. And so I do understand, that background. However, nowadays, thankfully, we do have a lot of choice with the types of foods that we can have, and we can get a lot more nutrients if we, get smart about it. I do want to mention here, whatthehealthfilm.com is a great one to watch. I highly recommend watch What the Health. And this is actually a follow-up film from the creators of the award-winning documentary Cowspiracy. And it exposes the collusion and corruption in government and big business that is costing us trillions of healthcare dollars and keeping people sick. It's a fantastic doco about health. It also talks about the dairy industry and the meat industry and some of the lies that have gone on in there as well. So definitely watch that. Whatthehealthfilm.com. You can actually watch it online. Highly recommend that you check that out if you haven't seen it already. It will certainly wake you up to what's going on in the world. And we always say here, look, question everything. Don't believe everything we've got to say. Question everything, because what we do know is there's been a hell of a lot of lies, and there's nothing quite like having your own food as far as the satiating side of it too. Nick was saying that when you eat your own organic food, or you have from a farmer that's not sprayed, or that way you are going to actually have that. You're not going to be as hungry with a lot of these genetically modified foods, the MSG, or when you have chips, you just want to eat more and more and more chips because it's got all the MSG.
It's designed that way. It's designed to keep you coming back for more. A lot of people think that they've got snacking issues. A lot of people think that they've got hunger issues. Not necessarily. Their cells in their body have literally been reprogrammed by this geoengineered stuff and this genetically modified stuff.
Yes, absolutely. So, just notice when you eat certain foods, how do you feel after you eat certain foods? And, how do you feel when you eat other food? And back to the egg thing. Now, what's happened now with this bird flu thing that's come in through Victoria? They've killed over 1 million chickens. Now, apparently, the ones that are actually outdoor, so the outdoor organic chickens, now they've been told that they need to bring them inside. A lot of the farms now, they're bringing the chickens inside into the barn now because they're worried that this bird flu thing is going to spread through the air and that the outside chickens are going to catch the bird flu. And so now a lot of these chickens are now, so now we're going to have even less healthier food because now the chickens have had to come into the barns.
Yeah. To anybody that's out there that's a farmer that's listening to this, I would be very careful about what you believe about the bird flu. The bird flu is nothing more than a propaganda message to create more fear. They, there's a lot of agendas behind it. I really don't think there's anything to worry about, me personally. And watch how they're going to use that message. As for those of you who are in the USA, watch how they're going to use that message as the elections start approaching. Watch how they're going to start pumping that out. Oh, this is the next variant. Oh, this is the next, better get your next jab, and all this other stuff. Just watch how they are going to be doing that. But I really don't think there's a big threat about that. Here's just something else to think about, people. So the whole C-19, if you will, just another way of saying it, the whole big C word. Oh, it was supposed to be so deadly and so all this other stuff, so much so they had to fake the death numbers that they showed people on TV. They had to, create all these mandates and everything else around all this stuff and everything else. Did you know that 18 million people die every year from coronary heart disease? Now, if you want to talk about a pandemic,
wow,
I think we need to call that a pandemic. Even with their so-called inflated death numbers that they did, it still does not match up to 18 million people a year dying from coronary heart disease. Wrap your head around that, you guys. 18 million. It is the number one disease. Now, let me make another point on that. So again, back to the food pyramid, back to these foods that they promote people to eat and all kinds of different things. Did that actually really solve a problem, or did that skyrocket all the issues? Go look at a photo of people at the beach from maybe the 1910, 1915, 1920s. Go look at a photo of people at the beach. Compare that with a photo from people from 2020. Go look and check out the difference. Okay, if you were really meant to stay away from meat, if you were really meant to stay away from saturated fats, if you were really meant to be on a low-fat diet, if you were really meant to prioritize carbs and starches in your routine, then why is it that we have 18 million people dying every year from coronary heart disease? And the fact actually remains is people are eating less meat. It is true. People are actually following that advice, and they are actually eating less meat and staying away from saturated fats. What has happened in the result of that? Look what has happened. 18 million. Case in point is basically what I'm just mentioning here. Case in point.
Yes, and a very good case in point in that. And I want to mention, while you're on that topic, how many excess deaths there have been through the whole pandemic, right? Now, this is just what they've got online, which we know probably the actual real stats are probably a hell of a lot more than this. But in 2023, there were 12,377 excess deaths that occurred just in Australia, just in 2023. That's 9.9% more than the baseline average. So 10% more deaths is what they're saying. And they estimate for the 2 years from March 2021 to August 2023, 29,601 excess deaths. Now, in America, they're saying the US had 470,000 excess deaths in 2020 compared to 352,000 the year before. Now, we know, look, it's a lot. I'm sure it's a lot more than that, right? That would be the conservative statistics, because we also know that people were paid to say that they had COVID deaths, when there were actually other deaths. They were actually paid to say they were COVID deaths because they wanted to make it look like a much worse situation than it actually was. And it's interesting, you know, last night I was at an art class here on the Gold Coast, right? And last night I was speaking to the local MP, and she said, "Oh, what's it like working in the media?" And I said, "Well, there's a lot of mainstream propaganda, mainstream media propaganda." And I just started to say it as it was. And I said, "Did you know that even just in the last week we've had content that has been censored on YouTube speaking about side effects of the jab? How interesting. It's still getting censored to this day." And a lady next to me, there was a lady at the art class, she said, "Oh, but if I didn't have the jab, I'd have much worse symptoms than I currently have." I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what they want you to believe. That's exactly." It's like she took it a hook, bait, and sinker. And it's like, go and get your booster shot. Hurry up, get your booster shot and be done with it. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like saying to some of these people. Like, just, you know, look, each to their own. Do your own research. I know this is going to trigger some people. However, you know, we are speaking our truth. That's what the Total Truth Show is about. And I cannot just sit back and say nothing when this woman is completely brainwashed. I'm like, you are brainwashed, woman. You are total. Like, it's like the picture I put on Facebook the other day when a whole lot of white sheep are going over the cliff. If you've got millions of white sheep going over the cliff, you've got the one black sheep going the other way. If everyone else is going to throw themselves over a cliff, does that mean you should do it too? Does that make any sense to you? If everyone else is going killing themselves, you know, in the name of safety and for your own health and for your own good, then does it make sense that you go and do that too? And I know a lot of people felt coerced. A lot of people said, "I had to do it because of work. I had to do it." Well, no, you didn't have to actually do it. You could have actually given up that job. You could have actually, you know, found other ways to make money. You could have, but you chose to do it, right? And you believe the propaganda. And look, you know, there are ways that you can help to get this stuff out of your system. There are certain things you can do to get the toxins out of there. However, the fact is, what's done is done. What are you going to do from now? What are you going to do from here moving forward to help empower yourself now moving forward? Because if you now know this information or have some inkling that maybe there's a bit of poison in these untested, the stuff that's not even a proper jab, right? I mean, it's not even like it's a jab, but it's not like we don't even know what's in this stuff, really. Or some people say snake poison and other things, right? So, I mean, but who really knows what's in it? Even the doctors don't know what's in it, right? So, you know, if you now know this information and you don't go out and do your own research, then don't say we didn't tell you so. Don't say if you suddenly get a heart attack or suddenly get shingles or suddenly get swelling of the feet due to heart problems, which has been happening in my family because everyone in my family did it. They've all taken the jab multiple times. Well, my parents have now said no more than 2, thank God. But I mean, mum's had swelling of her feet. Her dementia's got worse. Dad's had shingles. He's been in hospital twice for extra heart problems that weren't there before. You know, it's happening, guys, and it's affecting families. And more people are starting to speak up and wake up. And more and more people are saying enough is enough. And now there's the digital ID being rolled out. Well, what are you going to do about that? Are you going to just blindly go along with it? Or are you going to question the digital ID? You're going to question this one world currency that they're trying to bring in, this total control monitoring that's been happening with the 5G towers going up everywhere, with cameras going up everywhere. It is like 1984, George Orwell. Here we go. It's all been predicted. It's all happening. What are you going to do about it? Now, we have common law groups. We have My Place community groups. We have custodians out there. There's all sorts of things you can do to get empowered. And there's a lot of truth seekers and truth speakers who are rallying together and who are saying enough is enough and looking at alternative ways to do business, such as trading fruit and vegetables, right? We're going back to the old ways now in some communities where we're going back to this, right? Because one thing's for sure, we do not know what the government's going to do next. They can shut our bank account down at any time. We need to find different ways to do things. And as we talk about the truth about food today, what do we need? Our essentials. We need water. We need food. We need shelter. The essentials, right? We need to be a stand for the end of genetically modified food, for the end of things like Monsanto. And if you go and support these places and if you go buy your fruit and vegetables from the supermarket, then you're supporting potentially something that's not so good for us, right? So put your money where your mouth is and support the local farmers. Do something to get self-sustainable yourself. And that's for my rant. Back to you, Ken.
I love it. And I love it when you get on a rant. But, you know, it's like what is actually in these vaccines? Turns out I'm actually writing a piece. It's an actual article series that I'm actually working on. And there's going to be 4 or 5 parts to it. This one that I'm going to share from, this part is part 2B, and it's not published yet, so you cannot find it on my website yet. but I'm going to give you an inside look on some of the things that I have found so far. So there's two things we're going to talk about here. We're going to talk about graphene oxide, and then we are going to talk about spike proteins, because the spike proteins are not necessarily what you think they are in this particular jab. So first, let's talk about graphene oxide. How many people out there know what that is? It sounds like such a great term, doesn't it? Just graphene oxide. It just sounds like something I want in my body. First off, it is used as a paint protector in the automotive industry. It enhances the effectiveness of protective paint coatings. It's also used in conductive inks, and I'm reading from the article that I'm currently writing right now. And these inks conduct electricity and are used in printed electronics like circuits, radio frequency identification tags. I find that very interesting. Radio frequency identification tags, which are used for tracking items. Now, here's a quote that I found, and this quote is coming to you from a website called theradiopatriot.net. In his article, he actually names himself Radio Patriot. So I don't have a real name, but this is his article, and it's "What is graphene oxide and will it kill you?" Here's what he says. Graphene oxide is also extremely lightweight and conductive, with its temperature thresholds ranging anywhere between 2200 to 3300 Fahrenheit, which hypothetically speaking means that it can outperform all other materials. As an electrical conductor, graphene performs as well as copper, and despite being almost completely transparent, remains so dense, not even helium, the smallest gas atom, can pass through it. Let me repeat that. As an electrical conductor, graphene oxide, I'm still reading from the quote, performs as well as copper, and despite being almost completely transparent, remains so dense that not even helium and the smallest gas item can pass through it. And this is what's being injected into your cells with the so-called jab that you are being told that you must take. So it's just interesting. Graphene oxide, that doesn't sound like something I want in my body.
No, thank you.
Yeah, and so you've got side effects from it, and you've got it promotes blood clots. You wouldn't believe some of the videos and photos that I've seen on the internet of blood clots from the jab. These are unseen, untold like images that just mind blowing. So it damages your red blood cells. It damages your immune system. And it causes inflammatory syndrome or systematic or multi-organ inflammation. Inhaled graphene oxide causes inflammation of the mucous membranes, and thus you lose taste and smell. Isn't that a symptom? Very, very interesting. I actually had a friend who took the jab and lost his sense of taste for 5 months. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Spike proteins. All right. The general definition of spike proteins is simply this. And I do want to say that I did get this particular one from ChatGPT because I was kind of looking for a way of simplifying something. Because when we're getting into what's in these jabs and all this other stuff, there's a lot of articles I ran into, and very well-intentioned articles, but they are speaking terminology that frankly is not English to me. So I had to, basically what I did is I cut and pasted a whole bunch of stuff, shoved it into ChatGPT, and asked it to give me a really simple definition. So spike proteins, here's the generic definition that most common people think it is. Spike proteins are also in the injections And put in simple terms, they are tiny spikes or keys on the surface of some viruses, including the ones that cause C19. These spikes help the virus attach and enter the body's cells. Think of them as a special tool that the virus uses to unlock our cells and get inside, where it can then multiply and spread. So, right, you've got a typical vaccine that you've got just you've got a typical one that's got the a virus in there, and it's supposed to help your body build its immune system around that, right? That's common knowledge. That's what we think the spike proteins are that's in this particular jab. Let me share with you the truth on what it really is. So yes, it is a spike protein, but not the kind of spike protein you think it is. Here's another quote, and this is from a website called beforeitsnews.com. In their article, The Killer in the Bloodstream Spike Protein. And this one's written by Mike Whitney. Here's his quote from his article that he wrote. The spike protein is a uniquely dangerous transmembrane fusion protein that is an integral part of the C19 virus. The spike protein plays a crucial role in penetrating host cells and initiating infection. It also damages the cells in the lining of the blood vessel walls, which leads to blood clots, again, bleeding, massive inflammation, and death. To say that the spike protein is merely dangerous is a vast understatement. It is potentially lethal. It is a potentially lethal pathogen that has already killed tens of thousands of people.
Wow.
So far in the article, the part 2B series of this article series that I have written, that's as far as I've gotten. I've got much more research that I want to do. This article series that I have on my blog, parts 1 and 2 are live. And the title of the article series is called Uncovering the Toxic Truth About COVID, the Jab, and Ending the Fear. And I'm working on part 2B of it. And so it's a very in-depth series. It is not a short read, but if you want to find it, you can go to my website, www.masteryweightloss.com/blog, and you can see all my deep dive articles in there, including this series, but that's where I'm reading it from.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Ken. That's some great information there. Theo, the trainer, has joined us here on Instagram. Good to see you. Guys, joining us live right now, if you're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, or X, let us know, what are you getting from this conversation so far? And have you got any tips for us around what you know about food and what's the truth around food for you? Do you know anything that could help forward this conversation? Do you have any questions for us? Let us know in the comments. We do need to start wrapping up this show shortly. But for Ken, there might be people out there that don't actually know your story and why you're so passionate about food nowadays. So if you could give us a quick snapshot of your quick background and why you are so passionate about this topic and about health.
Okay, so because we've got a little bit more time flexibility here, so I'm going to kind of give not so much so it's not going to be the long version, but it's not going to be the short version either. It's going to be a little bit more detailed. So basically, roughly about 13 years ago, so I'm a short guy. I'm about 5 foot tall, and I was weighing in at 188.5 pounds. For a 5 foot person, 188, I was big. In fact, I was so big, just bending down to tie my shoes was a chore because my belly was so big. It was hard to get down there. I remember that like it was last night because that was something that I was very self-conscious about. I had clothes that weren't fitting me. Even, the couple of outfits I was down to that actually did fit me were getting tight. I would pop buttons off of things all the time. Oh my gosh, And I had health issues that were starting to rear their little head. And I had all the indications that told me if I continued down that path, I would end up with a heart attack or stroke. And I needed to lose weight. And the idea of going on another diet just did not resonate with me. I didn't want anything to do with that because I didn't want to have to follow by a plan and stay strict and all this stuff. I didn't want that. I still wanted to be able to enjoy my life, enjoy the things that I like to enjoy. So I embarked out on a journey to lose the weight, but I was very determined that I was going to do it my way. In a sense, I had my cake and I ate it too. So I did lose. It took me about 5.5 years to lose 62.5 pounds. Some of you might be going, wow, that's a long time. Why did it take you so long? And you two are telling me it's going to take me long? No. Actually, the fact that it took me that long was the best thing that could have happened, because looking back on hindsight is when I discovered the aha moment. And the aha moment is by doing it that way and doing it my way and doing it in a way that was sustainable for me, I allowed enough time for the new changes and the new habits in my journey to sink in and become part of who I was and automatic. Therein lies the key. And that's actually a big part of the philosophy of the way I teach people that I work with. Therein lies the key. Is number one, making it sustainable. Number two, the new changes and the new habits that you adapt, they must be sustainable for the long haul. Long haul meaning long enough, so not necessarily 3 or 4 months, long enough for them to sink in and become part of who you are. And that is it. Automatic. You don't think about it. It's just who we are now. That's the key. Okay. And so through that journey, because that happened in me, I have now been able to keep my weight off sustainably, easily without a diet for 6+ years now. And I feel like I eat like a king. I do not gorge myself, but I eat good and I eat quality because I have allowed enough time for all of those changes and new tweaks and things that I did during that journey to sink in and become part of who I was, so that when I finally reached the weight goal that I was after, it was easy for me to stay there because inside my psychological and mental head, I had changed. I look at things differently. I check ingredients differently. All of that. It's just part of who I am now. Now, thank you. Through all of that, summer of 2020, something else also happened to me. I basically got red pilled. For those of you who don't necessarily know what that means, I would encourage you go watch the original movie, The Matrix, and you will soon discover what red pilled means. And so basically, in other words, I woke up to a lot of the corruption that's out there. I woke up to the fact that 9/11 was an inside job. I woke up to the fact that the Titanic wasn't really the Titanic. It was a different boat altogether. I woke up to a lot of things. And through my discovery and all the rabbit trails I went down, I also discovered my passion around exposing the lies of the health and wellness industry and the food industry and giving people the power of what was really true in that industry. And so summer of 2020 was the launch of my brand, which is Mastery Weight Loss the way it's supposed to be. And from there, the launch of my brand in summer of 2020, I just started deep diving on every trail around the health industry that I could possibly get on. Now it is my mission to help as many people as I can and empower them. So not just to lose the weight, because anybody can go out and lose weight, but to empower them with the keys to be able to keep it off finally and for life. Because how many times have I had a client that's come across my path? I've never been able to keep the weight off. I'm just so frustrated about this, blah, 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 blah. You know, what do you have that I'm missing? The philosophy, the sinking in and having things become automatic. That's the piece that's missing. And that's what I teach people. through a 7-part framework that I use to teach people. And mindset is a major part of that, because when you're embarking on that journey, you must have the right mindset through it. And part of that right mindset is taking everything you've ever known, everything you've ever been taught around a diet, around what that looks like, everything that you've been programmed with around that concept, and you just take it, package it up in a cardboard box, and light the freaking thing on fire, because you are never going to be able to keep the weight off by approaching it with a diet mindset, ever. So you can tell that I'm very, very passionate about it. This is part of my overall story, and some of those pieces I don't often share just because of time. So you guys, because of the way today's show happened, you guys had the opportunity to hear some more of the extended pieces of that. But that is what I do. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, so basically, I am unapologetically faith-based weight loss coach, and I empower my clients to master their weight and health goals through my 7-part framework series, which I just shared. And by applying Christian principles, I help to ignite them to achieve mastery and sustainably keeping their weight off for good, for life, all without a diet. That is what I do. That is what I'm about. So if you want to find out more about that, just kind of leading right into this, if you want to find out more about that, you can contact me on my link tree. It's linktr.ee/fatfighterken, FATFIGHTERKEN. And right there at the top of the list are a couple links. One is a link to book an appointment with me on my calendar. And the second one is the link to my website, which I've already mentioned. So you can go www.masteryweightloss.com, and my blog's on there. You can find out all there is about me. There's even a free masterclass that's playing on there, replays every 15 minutes. So you just go in, sign up, and then within a 15-minute increment, it'll play for you. And so I encourage you, if you'd like to find out more about maybe how I can help you, I encourage you, go book an appointment with me on my calendar. At least give me the opportunity to point you in the right direction and help you. Even if you choose not to work with me or hire me as your coach, let me at least have the opportunity to give you some tips and pointers and point you in the right direction. The one thing that you can take away from my conversation today, though, that will empower you and start changing things in your life, the one thing is start turning the freaking things over. Do not believe the marketing that they're selling you anymore on products. Turn it over. Look at the truth. Look at the ingredients, because they lie to you on the front. And they're relying on the fact that you don't have the time, you're in a hurry, you've got kids in the cart that are just antsy, opening things that they're not supposed to, and you just want to get out of there. The industry is relying on that. You need to start turning it over and educating yourself on what you're putting into your body. So with that, that's it.
Totally. And for those who are on the audio, would you like to read that out for them there, Ken?
And that I just did, but I can do it a second time. So my link, yes, I did, but that's okay. I'll do it one more time. My link tree is linktr.ee/fatfighterken, FATFIGHTERKEN.
Thank you, Ken. Wonderful. And for those who think in kilos rather than pounds, so 62.5 pounds is actually 28.34 kilos, 28.3 kilos, which is massive amount of weight to lose and keep off. So well done with that, Ken. And I do have a question around the types of food you were eating before versus what you're eating now. What are the main differences quickly?
Well, for one, I was not paying attention to ingredients. So ingredients to me, it was like, phew, what's that? For two, I was eating a lot of processed fast foods. A lot of sugary items. I mean, I just really had no care in the world to really making healthier choices and really paying attention to what was being put in my body. If it tasted good, I ate it. And oftentimes that meant burritos, that meant fries, that meant sugary items, that meant, all other stuff. Now, speaking of sugary items, I still do have sugar. I mean, I have my guilty pleasures. One of my guilty pleasures is barbecue sauce. Oh my gosh, barbecue sauce has sugar in it. Yes, it does. But when you have a baseline eating routine that is whole foods and healthy, I can get away with that. And I have. And I've kept my weight off for 6+ years now. I still have my barbecue sauce when I want it. I make better choices around the types, barbecue sauce that I get. Mine's organic. It doesn't have high fructose corn syrup in it or anything like that. 95% of the ingredients I can pronounce in there. Things like that. These are all things I was not aware of before. These are all things, food choices. I never turned anything over and looked at what it really was. And those are all things that have changed in my life. Those are all things. And shoot, fast food places. Oh my gosh. Like, I might eat at a fast food restaurant twice a year now, because I just don't consciously feel comfortable with what's in most of that stuff. And so for me, that's part of who I am. Now, do I go out and eat every once in a while? Yes, I do. And I have fun. And I let my hair down when I want to let my hair down. And I guess one of the things you would say is my non-negotiable now is seed oils, industrial seed oils, soybean oil, canola oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, all that other stuff. That's kind of one of my non-negotiables. I do not want that stuff in my body. Because I know the damage it does. And the damage is not minor. It is severe damage that it does. Severe inflammation, chronic inflammation, severe metabolic damage. You might be wondering, hey, I think I'm eating all the right things, but I'm still not losing weight. One of the reasons why you still may not be losing weight is because you are getting seed oils into your life and you don't even know it, because they are found in so many things. And this is why it's important to turn things over. Anyhow, back to you, Aldwyn.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. And we did actually do a whole episode on seed oils. So would you say then, Ken, if we're getting fried chips or fries from a takeaway shop, would that be full of seed oils? By having fries, would you be having a lot of those bad oils?
Most likely. Unless you can find some of the rare restaurants that proudly pronounce that they don't use seed oils and they're using good oils, then okay. But I'm going to tell you, fries used to be cooked in beef tallow. I would love to try fries that are cooked in beef tallow. I've never had the opportunity, but I've heard that it's good. And beef tallow is great for you. It's a great oil. I commonly use coconut oil and avocado oil is what I commonly use. But I mean, I don't fry stuff. I will use it as a non-stick agent and stuff like that. So yeah, fries, most of them, 98% of them, you're going to find out there, unless they proudly say that they don't use seed oils. They're cooked in seed oils. On top of that, they are extremely toxic because they're reusing this oil over and over and over and over and over again. And it's also being heated up to crazy temperatures, which then makes it very, very unstable, and which then makes it very toxic for you.
That's fascinating. And even, cold pressed olive oil, which I grew up with. I mean, we've got Mediterranean background, and, they put olive oil on everything right now. Olive oil on salads is fantastic. However, I didn't realize until recently that olive oil heated up is actually not so good for you. Do you know much about that?
I've heard mixed things on that. Avocado oil is actually better. A lot of people love olive oil because they actually like the flavor and everything else. But putting it on salads is good and all that other stuff. That's great. In general, you just need to be really careful when you're heating up any kind of oil as well. But avocado oil has a more higher heat point. But even still, you got to be careful with that, because you can overcook avocado oil, and then it does become toxic and rancid. It becomes unstable. So you have to be very, very careful with some of these things. Here's just another note. One last thing I will say around both avocado oil and olive oil. Studies are coming out and have shown that, let's take olive oil. I don't care how they market to you on the bottle that the avocado was made cold pressed, from this place, all natural and everything else. There are some avocado oil companies out there that are mixing their avocado oil with soybean oil. And there are studies out there to prove it. There are some, so be careful who you buy from. Now, one company that I know you can buy from that so far is a trusted company is called Chosen Foods. Chosen Foods has avocado oil that is indeed 100% avocado oil. It's a brand that you can buy at the store. It is pricey, but it's kind of worth it because that's the good stuff. They also have a great mayo. If you're a mayo guy like me, I love mayonnaise. I get my mayonnaise from the brand Chosen Foods. Why? Because it's made with 100% avocado oil, number one. And number two, I can pronounce and understand every ingredient that's in there, and it's made with minimal ingredients. Just something else to think about.
Yeah, that's mayonnaise you said there, right? Mayonnaise. Yeah, mayonnaise. And then, look at margarine versus butter as well. Margarine, apparently the natural color of margarine is gray, apparently. So then they sort of put all sorts of dyes and things to make it yellow, and it's toxic as well. Margarine is very toxic. You don't want to be having margarine either. But there's so much we could go into around food. And it's all about the truth about food, or we could keep chatting about this topic. I want to welcome to our live stream. We've got Inabila Rain has joined us. We've got the Eda Utku. The Eda Utku, I think that is. Eda Utku has joined us on Instagram. We've got Robert Mull. Good to see you, Robert. Some of our amazing people here on the live stream. Let us know, what are you getting from this conversation so far? Any questions for us, let us know in the live stream, or if you're watching the replay, let us know what you're getting from this so far. I've certainly been learning a lot. I must say, this has been an amazing episode. And I've actually, when you talk about the ingredients in your food, now I must say, look, my eyesight's not as good as it used to be, Ken. I know I look 25, but I am actually 50 now, and my eyesight's not as good as it used to. And so sometimes when I go to the supermarket and I look on the back of the packets, I can't see it properly. So there is something very cool that you can do, my friends. You can look up a app called Yuka, YUKA. It's a free mobile app that scans the barcodes of food and personal care products, and you can instantly see the impact on your health. It will give you a rating and detailed information to help you understand and analyze each product. Now, Yuka is one that has just popped up here when I've searched for it. However, there could be other apps as well that you can actually look up the ingredients, or take a magnifying glass with you. And anything that's got 3 numbers on it is generally not good. Anything that's got vegetable oils on it, not good. Sugar, you want to minimize. Even the salts, I'm sure a lot of places wouldn't use sea salt. So a lot of that table salt is toxic as well. So just, knowing these little things, making these small incremental changes can make a massive difference to your energy levels, to how you do life, and just notice how you feel after you eat certain foods. How do you feel? Now, lately I've been intermittent fasting quite a bit, which I found really good for me. I've been loving the intermittent fasting. And I usually eat after. I do like my strong black coffee in the morning. So I'll have some water, and I'll have filtered water, strong black coffee. And then after lunch, I'll have a good meal, generally after lunch. And that's how I like to do my days nowadays. Generally, it's very rare that I'll eat anything before lunch. Sometimes I might have a smoothie. I have fresh juices that are, watermelon juice or banana smoothies, or, I have that kind of thing, which I find really good first thing in the morning for myself. However, for whatever it is for you, do your own research on all of this that we're talking about here today. Now, we do need to wrap up the show shortly. So
one more thing. I want to share. It popped in my mind, and I just want to use this as an example. And I'm only going to do one because I do have many other examples that I use, but I'm just going to use this one because when I discovered this, it was like an aha moment, kind of not that I didn't know about it, but it was just kind of like, you see, this is why it's important to turn it over. So how many of you out there you like good old fashioned maple syrup on your pancakes, French toast, or waffles. You know, who doesn't? I know I do. I love that. You know, it's great. It's kind of traditional. You know, I'm not one of, there's some people that like to have the fruit syrups or fruit and stuff like that on their pancakes. And I'm traditional maple syrup, but okay. So take one or two of the typical maple syrup brands out there. You've got maple syrup, you've got Log Cabin. There's another one that's not, that I can't think of right now. All your typical generic brands. Let's take Log Cabin, for example. On the front of the bottle, they're going to sell you on the fact that it's not made with high fructose corn syrup, no artificial, all of this. They're big, bold print. No high fructose corn syrup. Here's something that's very interesting. You turn over the bottle of Log Cabin maple syrup and you look through the ingredients. Number one, you're going to find that the very first ingredient in there is corn syrup, which is pretty much the exact same thing as high fructose corn syrup. It's a marketing trick that they play on people because people think corn syrup is better. It is not. It's the same thing. So don't buy into that. But more to the point of what I'm trying to make here. You look through the ingredients on that maple syrup bottle. There is not one ingredient in there that says maple syrup. What the hell is it then? It's marketing to you on the front that it's maple syrup. Log Cabin maple syrup says right on the front, or syrup. What is it? That isn't maple syrup. There is no maple syrup in there. Okay, just something to think about, and just re-establishing my point on why it's important for you to turn the freaking thing over. And by the way, get real maple syrup, the 100% real maple syrup. It's worth paying the couple extra bucks. It tastes great, and you can actually use it as a sweetener in your foods. It is a natural sugar. And so you can use it when recipes call for sugar. You can use that as well as raw honey. Just another little tip. But anyhow, just something for you to think about. This is what they do. This is how they market to you. And most people don't know how to see through it. This is what I teach people.
Yes, thank you, Ken. Love your passion for this topic. And whenever we talk about food or oils or any of this stuff, we tend to chat a little bit longer on our shows. I must say I do love honey, although even a lot of honeys now are watered down with sugar and processed, etc. as well. And we need to save the bees. That's another thing. We need to do our best to save the bees. And that's a whole other discussion. Maybe we could do a topic one day, the truth about bees. That would be a one. And I'm thinking actually with this year's Animal Action event, I'm looking to put together is actually do a fundraiser for bees to help save the bees because they're under threat. And if we lose the bees, we're going to lose a lot of our ecosystem, etc. So so let's do our best to sort of save the bees as much as possible and look into that yourself. Now, in wrapping up, Ken, do you have a quote you'd like to share with us today?
The quote that I'm gonna share is not really a quote, but it's something that I have here on my wall, and setting intentions. So when you go into the grocery store, start setting intentions to add in that extra little bit of time to start one piece at a time, one step at a time, developing that habit of turning things over. So in setting intentions, you cannot hope for motivation for the day. You must be intentional about it. Start your day with intention. Set intentions in your schedule. Schedule in that extra time when you're going to the store, even if your kids are driving you nuts and you just want to get home. I know when I'm in the grocery store, that is the only thing that's on my mind. I just want to get out there and I want to get in there and I want to get out, but you must set an intention to start turning things over. So I guess that's my quote. Set those intentions. Be intentional.
Love it. I love that. Actually, I've been doing some meditations lately around being intentional. So I love that. I think it's so important because otherwise, if you're not clear on where you want to go, then any road will take you anywhere. You need to really set your intention, I believe, to have a more focused and more productive day, I think, and a more enjoyable day when you set intentions. I think it really helps set your path for the day. So I love that one. Thank you, Ken, and thank you for all that wisdom on health. It's fascinating all of this, isn't it? And I'm certainly, one thing I'm going to take on from this is I'm going to go and look into that Yuka app, YUKA, look into that app where I can scan the barcodes of food. I think that's great as our eyesight is going and we want to see what's in some of these nasties in the food. And there could be other ones. Look, I don't know how good Yuka is. I haven't used it. However, I'm willing to give it a go and see what it says. However, question everything, because Yuka might have other agendas at play too. Who knows, right? So, who knows, but question everything. And we've shared some amazing resources as well this show with fedup.com about all the nasty ingredients from the food intolerances, fedup.com.au, fedup.com.au for those who've just joined us. Check that one out as well. Shows you all the adverse effects of all sorts of ingredients that you may not realize are in your food that you're getting from the supermarket shelves, particularly. Basically, anything in a packet is generally not good for you. Okay, that's basically, that's generally how it goes. Anything in a packet, you're going to have some nasties in there.
Not always. Most
always.
of it, 95% of it, yes. But there are companies that are coming out with some good stuff. Like, hey, if you like, every once in a while, you like a small handful of chips, there are companies out there that have got chips that are made from avocado oil. Then you've got sea salt in it, and you got cassava flour. 3 simple ingredients. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we have those in our house. And they're a guilt-free grab if you just want to have, if you've got that chip vibe, you just want a couple chips or you want a handful of chips. Well, this is a way you can get a handful of chips and feel comfortable about it. So the healthier packaged items are out there. You just have to really look for them and know what companies or what brands to buy from. So anyhow, back to you.
Yes, good point. That's right. There are some good products in packaged food. However, generally with packaged food, mostly they have to put something in there to make it last longer inside the package. So do your own research with everything. And yes, there are some amazing companies doing great stuff out there as well. So, like I love the Munch packets. There's this company called Munch that do these really cool little sort of bite-size things with all sorts of nuts and great goodies in there. These little, there's all sorts of good stuff out there. So yeah, check out the ingredients on whatever you're going to buy if you're buying it out of a packet, and become self-sustainable as much as possible. Out Came the Sun has just joined us on Instagram. Hello, Out Came the Sun. I love these names on Instagram. Now, for those who want to connect with me, you will find all my links at linktree/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. If you have a great product, service, or message, and you feel like you are the world's best kept secret right now, and you want to make a bigger impact in the world, I help you be seen, heard, and known through mass media exposure. Now, something you can do for free is you can join the Global Good News Challenge. We have it every month. It's a great way to share gratitude and good news and help get your message out. We share it out to thousands of people. We started this through COVID to help decrease depression and suicide rates and lift the energy on the planet. And I'm very grateful for all our Good News Crusaders worldwide who have been doing the Global Good News Challenge. Now, for July, we have a 7-day challenge. I haven't done my July challenge yet, but I will be shortly coming up with my challenge. 7 days in a row. You can start anytime within July. Just share your name, what you do, 3 things you're grateful for, and your good news with us on a live video on social media. Hashtag Global Good News Challenge, and then we'll share the love. You can go to the Global Good News Challenge Facebook page. At the top has got all the details in that. Also, I've been running some awesome events lately on how to build a global brand, some free webinars. We've had amazing turnout on the last few that we've run. I will be doing another one coming up in the next few weeks, so keep an eye out on that. If you pop into my link tree, you'll see my Eventbrite link and my Humanitics link. So if you follow me there, you will get updates on our future events. We also have some meetup groups, etc. So follow me in there. If you want to work closely together and you don't want to attend an event, you just want to jump straight in, then book a call with me. And you'll find that in my link tree there as well, my calendar link. And I have a mass media mastery program. We have members all over the world who've been absolutely blitzing it in the media, getting some great results. We have actually Melinda Richards has got her own show now on TNT radio Monday to Friday from 2 hours every morning. She is doing her show now on TNT radio. We had Amir Meshul in Sydney, a buyer's agent. He recently appeared on SBS TV and radio and Channel 7. He's been blitzing it as well, and so many others. Dr. Olivia Ong in Melbourne's been in the media all over the place. So big shout out to all my Mass Media Mastery members. And then the other thing we do is we actually do PR for people as well. So if you just want to outsource it all, then just reach out to us and we can help you with that as well. All right, so that's where to go for that. Now, we did put Key2 Group in there as well. Check that out, rangernick.com.au. Thank you so much to Ranger Nick for joining us as well earlier on his tour up north. And we've shared a whole lot of amazing links. Now, my quote for today, and this is one I absolutely love, it is, "Let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food," by Hippocrates. Let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food. And there's another great saying that says, "Death by knife and fork." Death by knife and fork. So, treat your body like a 5-star machine, and you don't put crap fuel into your car. So don't put crap fuel into your body, or you will have crap results. You're going to get tired, you're going to get bloated, you're going to get lethargic. You're not going to have a great experience of life if you're feeding your body with crap food. Okay, any other thoughts on that, Ken, before we wrap up?
No other thoughts. I mean, I think we've gone long enough, so I'm gonna kind of shut up now.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, guys. Like our Total Truth Show as well on Facebook, and you'll find us on the podcast outlets. You'll find us on BitChute, on Rumble, on all the channels, Signal, Telegram, places where there is no censorship of information. And big shout out to Julian Assange, my absolute hero. So great to see that he was freed recently, and he celebrated his birthday in Australia recently. So shout out to Julian Assange for this episode. And we'll see you back again for more great episodes of Total Truth Show. Thank you to all our supporters, everyone who's come and joined us live and on the replay. Let us know what you think. If you think someone else really needs to watch this or listen to this, share the love, help get this out there. You never know whose life you might be able to impact or extend by them eating healthy and being more aware of the food that they have.
And just a little plug for next episode, which is coming up next week, you guys. So here is a plug for next episode. We will have our guest. Her name is Francine Ivy, and she is going to be coming on, and she's going to be talking about the truth about overcoming loss. And you guys, you're not going to want to miss this episode, because she has a very, very, very powerful story to tell around loss. So stay tuned for that. Come back and join us for our next episode next week.
Amazing. And what time have you got? American time for our next show for those who are joining from the US? And I'll give the Australian time.
American time is going to be, so this, we will go live at around 7-ish. So 7:15-ish, somewhere around there is when we will go live. And that is Pacific Standard Time. For those of you who are Pacific, and Eastern Standard Time, that will be 10:15-ish Eastern Standard Time. We will go live. So Pacific, 7:15 will go live. Eastern Standard Time is 10:15-ish.
Yes, and that will be Tuesday, the 16th of July for those in the US. And in Australia, it'll be Wednesday, the 17th of July. It'll be around noon, around midday. It's The Truth About Overcoming Loss with Francine Ivy. Can't wait for that show. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll see you. And I think we've been so good today. I think I'm going to give everyone the clap. Yay, well done. And thank you to Ranger Nick. Thank you, everyone who's joined us, and grow some more food. Okay, get those passion fruit going in the yard. Bring some more passion in your life. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, Ken. We'll see you again next time. Bye. See you. Bye.